When a man is genuinely interested in a woman, he's not just looking for beauty, charm, or the perfect smile. He's looking for something deeper, something that tells him, this woman is someone I can invest in. Men test women, often without even realizing it. These tests aren't always cruel or manipulative. They're simply moments where he's watching how you handle situations that matter to him. A man may want to see if you value yourself enough to set boundaries. He may want to know if you can stand your ground, or if you're the kind of woman who will shrink just to keep him happy. He may test to see how you respond to his ambition, his challenges, or even his flaws. And here's the truth. These tests are not about passing for his approval. They're about you staying authentic, knowing your worth, and refusing to lower your standards for temporary affection. When you understand the ways men test women, you stop feeling blindsided and you start responding from a place of power. You stop chasing validation and you start radiating certainty. The kind that makes a man think, she's the one I need to step up for. So let's break down exactly how men test women they want and how you can handle it like a queen who knows her value. One of the very first ways a man will test a woman he's genuinely interested in is by seeing how she handles her boundaries. This isn't always some calculated game. Often it's subconscious. A man might push the edges of your comfort zone, not to hurt you, but to understand what you're willing to tolerate. And more importantly, if you respect yourself enough to say, no, when something doesn't feel right. Boundaries are more than just rules. They're a reflection of your self-worth. If you let him cancel plans last minute repeatedly without addressing it, or if you tolerate him speaking to you in a disrespectful tone without setting the record straight, you're silently teaching him what's acceptable. A man who's serious about you will pay close attention to these moments because how you protect your energy tells him the type of relationship he's going to have with you in the long run. Sometimes this test shows up in subtle ways. A harmless joke that's actually a little hurtful, seeing if you'll laugh it off to avoid conflict. Or it could be him suggesting something you've already said you're not comfortable with, just to see if you'll bend under pressure. Your response in these moments tells him whether you're someone who prioritizes harmony at the expense of your own needs, or someone who can gracefully but firmly stand her ground. The irony is many women fear that saying no will push a man away. In reality, the opposite is often true. When you calmly assert yourself, you signal that you're not afraid of losing someone who crosses your limits. That's attractive because it shows you're with him out of choice, not out of desperation. Men respect women who make it clear that access to them is a privilege, not a right to be abused. Having strong boundaries also filters out the wrong men quickly. A man who genuinely values you will adjust, respect your lines, and even appreciate you for making them clear. A man who gets offended, manipulates, or tries to guilt trip you, that's someone revealing he's not ready for a relationship built on respect. By holding your ground, you're not just passing a test. You're making sure he's the kind of man worth letting into your world. So when he nudges at your limits, whether it's through words, behavior, or expectations, remember, it's not just about that single moment. It's about the bigger message. This is how I expect to be treated, and this is what I will not allow. You're teaching him how to love you, and if he's the right man, he'll rise to meet those standards. When a man is serious about you, one of the ways he might test your character is by observing how you handle attention from others. This isn't always about jealousy. Often, it's about seeing whether you can remain grounded, loyal, and authentic when people outside the relationship show you interest. He wants to know if the charm and attraction you give him is something special, or if it's something you hand out to anyone who comes along. This kind of test can appear in subtle ways. Maybe you're at a party together and someone compliments your appearance or tries to strike up a flirty conversation. He might not say a word, but he'll notice whether you brush it off respectfully, redirect the conversation, or entertain it for a bit too long. The way you respond tells him if you're someone who values exclusivity and respect for the relationship, even when he's not directly involved. It's not just about romantic attention either. Some men will pay attention to how you respond to general admiration. Whether it's your looks, your talent, or your accomplishments. Do you stay humble and gracious, or do you use it as a way to seek validation? A man who's truly invested in you wants to know that your confidence comes from within, not just from the attention of strangers. Now, this doesn't mean you should dim your light or act uninterested in the world around you. The right man isn't threatened by you being admired. In fact, he'll love knowing that other people see how incredible you are. What matters is whether you can enjoy that attention without crossing boundaries, without using it to provoke jealousy, and without letting it shift your focus away from him. In many cases, men will also watch how you handle attention when he's not around. Social media is a big one. How do you engage with comments, DMs, or likes from other men? Do you respond in a way that's consistent with the values you've shown him in person? Or do you let the online world become a playground for subtle flirting? Your actions when no one is watching often speak louder than anything you say. Ultimately, this test is about trust. He wants to feel secure knowing that the same woman who smiles at him across the table is the same woman when she's in a room full of people or scrolling through her phone late at night. Handling attention with grace, respect, and authenticity tells him he's not just dating someone attractive. He's with a woman whose loyalty can't be swayed by temporary thrills. A man who is genuinely interested in building a future with you will pay close attention to how you respond to his ambition. Ambition isn't just about money or career. It's about the drive he has to improve himself, pursue goals, and push towards something bigger. He wants to know if you'll stand beside him as he climbs, or if you'll feel threatened, impatient, or dismissive of his journey. Sometimes this test isn't obvious. He might casually mention a big dream he has, starting a business, moving to a new city, writing a book, just to see how you react. Do your eyes light up and encourage him? Or do you immediately bring up all the reasons it might fail? Your reaction tells him if you're a partner who believes in his potential or someone who quietly limits his vision. Supporting a man's ambition doesn't mean agreeing with every idea or never asking hard questions. It means showing that you value his growth as much as your own. A man who's serious about life will be drawn to a woman who inspires him to stay focused, not one who constantly questions whether he should even try. He's not looking for blind cheerleading. He's looking for someone who fuels his determination rather than draining it. There's also another side to this. His ambition will often require sacrifices, late nights, extra hours, temporary setbacks. He may test to see how you handle those moments. Do you understand that this is part of the process, or do you take it personally every time his focus shifts toward his goals? A man wants to know that you can handle his drive without mistaking it for neglect. At the same time, ambition can make a man vulnerable. The bigger the dream, the greater the risk of failure, and failure can bruise the ego. If you show up with empathy, patience, and encouragement when he hits roadblocks, you prove you're not just around for the good times. You're showing him you can handle the process, not just the prize. In the end, his ambition isn't just about his goals. It's a reflection of the life he wants to build. When you respond with belief, patience, and support, you tell him you're not intimidated by the climb. You're the kind of woman who's ready to grow alongside him, not wait for him at the finish line. A man who's genuinely considering a long-term connection with you will pay close attention to how you manage your emotions, especially in moments of stress, disagreement, or jealousy. Emotional control doesn't mean you never express how you feel. It means you can communicate your feelings without letting them completely take over your behavior. He's watching to see if you can navigate challenges with grace or if you get swept away by every emotional wave. This kind of test often appears when something small goes wrong. Maybe he's late to meet you, he forgets to text back quickly, or he says something that unintentionally irritates you. How you respond in that moment matters. Do you escalate the situation, resort to accusations, or use it as an opportunity to shame him? Or do you address it directly but calmly, making it clear that you value respect without creating unnecessary drama? He'll test your emotional control indirectly by sharing news that could trigger insecurity, like mentioning time spent with female colleagues or talking about a personal challenge he's facing. He's not necessarily trying to provoke you, but he's observing whether you can handle the information without jumping to conclusions, attacking him, or spiraling into self-doubt. Maintaining emotional balance also means being able to disagree without turning it into a personal war. Every couple will have differences in opinion, but the way you handle those differences speaks volumes. A man who's serious about a future with you wants to know he can bring up hard topics without fearing an explosive reaction. Emotional safety is just as important to him as physical attraction. It's not about suppressing your emotions. In fact, emotional expression is healthy and necessary, but the key is learning to pause, reflect, and respond rather than react. That pause tells him you're intentional in your communication, that you care about resolution instead of winning an argument. It also signals maturity, which is deeply attractive to a man who values stability. When you show you can handle emotional challenges with composure, you're proving you can be a steady partner in both calm and stormy seasons. That steadiness makes him feel like he can trust you with not just his heart, but his vulnerabilities and his future. One of the most telling ways a man will test a woman he's interested in is by noticing whether she maintains her own life outside of the relationship. He wants to see if you have your own passions, friendships, goals, and sense of purpose, or if you begin to revolve entirely around him the moment feelings deepen. This isn't about independence as a buzzword. It's about whether you can stand as a whole person, with or without him. In the early stages, this test might feel flattering. He wants to spend all his free time with you, and you want the same. But a man who is thinking long-term will pay attention to whether you still make space for your own hobbies, career, and social connections. If every plan you had before him starts disappearing, it can send the signal that your identity is tied to the relationship instead of your own growth. Men are often drawn to women who have a rich, fulfilling life because it keeps the connection dynamic. When you're excited about your own projects, nurturing your friendships and continuing to grow, you bring fresh energy into the relationship. He doesn't want a relationship that feels like an escape from your life. He wants one that complements the vibrant life you already have. Sometimes this test comes in the form of him encouraging you to take opportunities, even if it means spending less time together for a while. Maybe you get a chance to work on a big project, travel with friends, or attend an event he can't join. How you respond matters. If you feel guilty for pursuing your own life or hesitate because you fear losing his attention, it can send the message that you depend on him for your happiness. Maintaining your own life also creates a healthy balance of closeness and space. Relationships thrive when both people have room to breathe and grow individually. When a man sees that you're capable of loving him deeply while still prioritizing your own dreams, he feels a mix of respect and admiration because he knows you're with him out of choice, not out of need. Ultimately, having your own life isn't just a test you pass. For him, it's a foundation you build for yourself. It ensures you never lose your sense of self, no matter what happens. And for the right man, that's not just attractive, it's essential. No man is perfect, and a man who's genuinely interested in you will notice how you respond when his imperfections show up. In the beginning, it's easy to be swept up in the best parts of each other, the charm, the chemistry, the excitement. But eventually, you'll see sides of him that are less polished, a bad habit, a moment of impatience, a mistake in judgment. When those moments come, he's paying close attention to whether you can address them with respect or if you start tearing him down. Sometimes this test appears in small, almost invisible ways. He might tell you about something embarrassing from his past, or he might admit to a weakness he's working on. He's not looking for perfection in your response, but he is looking for understanding. Do you judge him harshly? Do you make him feel like he has to hide those parts of himself? Or do you create a space where he feels safe being human? The way you handle his flaws isn't about pretending they don't exist. It's about how you communicate about them. If something bothers you, can you express it in a way that focuses on the behavior rather than attacking his character? This difference is huge. When you criticize the action instead of the person, you give him room to improve without feeling diminished. There's also the matter of patience. Some flaws won't change overnight. A man might be testing to see if you're capable of giving him time to grow, or if you expect instant transformation. While you should never tolerate deal breakers or harmful behavior, showing grace for the smaller imperfections can make him feel respected and motivated to keep evolving. On the flip side, he's also paying attention to whether you enable unhealthy patterns. A strong partner doesn't ignore red flags just to keep the peace. She's willing to have the tough conversations, set boundaries, and hold both herself and her partner to high standards. That balance between compassion and accountability is what truly earns his respect. When a man sees that you can acknowledge his flaws without weaponizing them, you become someone he feels safe to be real with. And in a world where many people only show their curated highlights, that kind of acceptance is rare and deeply valuable to the right man. When a man is genuinely interested in building something real, he's not just watching how you act on the good days. He's paying attention to who you are across all situations. Consistency is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity, and men often test for it consciously or unconsciously. They want to know if you're the same person when things are fun and exciting as you are when life throws challenges your way. This test often begins subtly. At the start, you might be full of warmth, patience, and understanding. But what happens if plans fall through? What happens when he disappoints you in a small way or you have a disagreement? He's watching to see whether your respect for him remains steady, or if you swing between affection and frustration depending on your mood. Consistency is about trust. A man needs to feel confident that the woman he's with isn't going to treat him like a king one week and a burden the next. That doesn't mean you can't express when you're upset or hurt. It means you can do it without letting temporary emotions erase the care and connection you've built. Men also notice if your words align with your actions. If you say you value honesty, but become defensive when he's truthful, that inconsistency will stand out. If you talk about wanting stability, but constantly create chaos over small issues, it sends mixed signals. For a man looking for a long-term partner, those contradictions can be red flags. Sometimes this test comes in the form of him sharing his own inconsistencies to see how you'll respond. Maybe he opens up about a bad habit he's still working on or admits he's been underperforming in an area of his life. If your reaction is steady, supportive but honest, it shows him you're someone who doesn't waver when faced with imperfection. When you show up with reliability, emotionally and behaviorally, you're proving you're someone he can count on through both the highs and lows. That steadiness builds a foundation where love isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's something that can actually last. A man who's genuinely interested in you will pay close attention to the way you talk about other people because it reveals a lot about your character. Words are windows into our mindset, and how you speak about friends, family, exes, co-workers, even strangers tells him whether you operate from kindness, respect, or judgment. Sometimes this test is as subtle as him bringing up someone you don't particularly like just to see your reaction. Do you launch into gossip and criticism, or do you stay composed and avoid tearing others down? He's not necessarily expecting you to adore everyone, but he's listening for signs of fairness, empathy, and emotional maturity. The way you speak about past relationships is another big one. If every story about an ex is full of bitterness and blame, it can signal to him that you haven't fully processed those experiences, or that you may speak about him the same way if things go wrong. On the other hand, being able to acknowledge past challenges without venom shows emotional growth and accountability. Men also notice whether your conversations lift the energy in a room or drain it. Do you use your words to encourage, inspire, and build? Or do you often dwell on negativity and judgment? He's testing whether being around you will feel like a source of peace and motivation, or a cycle of unnecessary drama. Even in casual settings, a restaurant, a store, or while out with friends, he might observe how you speak about people who aren't present. Are you quick to criticize a stranger's appearance or choices? Or do you focus on things that don't tear others down? These moments tell him if your kindness is situational or part of your character. When he sees that you choose words carefully, even when it would be easy to speak harshly, he understands you're someone who values respect across the board. That kind of communication builds trust, because it assures him that the way you speak to him and about him will always come from a place of integrity. A man who's thinking about a long-term future with you will often test whether you can stand on your own 2 feet, emotionally, socially, and sometimes even financially. Independence is magnetic because it signals that you're in the relationship by choice, not out of dependency. He wants to know if you can be happy and secure without needing him to fill every emotional or practical gap in your life. Sometimes this test is subtle. He might leave you to handle certain situations on your own, from making a decision without his input to managing an unexpected challenge. It's not about abandonment, it's about seeing whether you can navigate life without crumbling or constantly seeking reassurance. Your ability to handle things on your own shows resilience and self-trust. Independence also shows up in the way you manage your happiness. If your mood rises and falls entirely based on his attention, it can make the relationship feel like a responsibility instead of a choice. Men often test for this by noticing whether you can enjoy your own plans, spend time with friends, or pursue personal goals without needing constant validation from them. It's not just about doing things alone. It's about having your own inner world. A man who values independence in a partner wants to see that you have passions, hobbies, and ambitions that light you up from within. That kind of self-driven energy doesn't just make you more attractive. It makes the relationship richer because you're both bringing something unique to the table. There's also a deeper trust element here. If he knows you can take care of yourself, he feels less pressure to be your sole source of strength and happiness. That freedom actually makes him more excited to show up for you because his role becomes a partner and supporter, not a rescuer. When you demonstrate independence, you send the message that you're with him because you want to be, not because you have to be. That's a powerful distinction. And for the right man, it's one of the most attractive qualities you can have. One of the most telling ways a man will gauge a woman's emotional security is by noticing how she reacts when he takes space. Space isn't always about pulling away. Often, it's about maintaining a healthy rhythm of closeness and independence. He wants to see if you can give him room to breathe without becoming anxious, controlling, or resentful. This test might happen naturally in the course of life. He could get busy with work, spend a weekend with friends, or take time to focus on a personal project. During these times, he's quietly observing whether you can trust the connection enough to let him have that time, or whether you interpret it as a sign of rejection. Your reaction tells him a lot about your confidence in yourself and the relationship. Some women accidentally fail this test by overcompensating, texting excessively, demanding constant updates, or trying to fill the space with unnecessary drama just to feel reassured. While it's normal to miss someone, a man notices when your response to space is rooted in insecurity versus trust. If you can respect his time apart without assuming the worst, you show emotional stability and self-assurance. The ability to give space also communicates that you understand the importance of individuality in a relationship. Just as you need time to nurture your own friendships, hobbies, and self-care, he also needs that freedom. When he sees you embracing that balance, he feels more at ease opening up and connecting deeply because he knows the relationship won't smother him. There's also an element of attraction in this. When you handle space well, you create an environment where he can miss you. Instead of being constantly present and available, you allow a natural longing to build, and that keeps the relationship vibrant. Men are often more eager to invest in a woman who can step back confidently and let the connection breathe. Ultimately, your response to space tells him whether you're in the relationship from a place of abundance or fear. When you can love him deeply while also respecting his need for independence, you become the kind of partner he can trust, desire, and commit to without hesitation.